You all set?
I'm ready.
All right. Welcome back for another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona.
And Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire. They have frozen pizzas, pizza buffet, and they are our favorite pizza place in the state of Wisconsin.
Hey, so I heard you had a funny encounter because somebody thought that Cabin Coffee
wasn't the real deal.
Wasn't real. It was just some sort of fake coffee shop that we fabricated.
That we mentioned. Just that's part of the podcast storyline. And no, I had to say it's real. And just so the audience knows, we are not actually in Cabin Coffee right now, even though it appears that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Cabin Coffee is real. Located in Altoona, and basically I gave the directions. It was from Wausau 29 West, get off on 53 South. What's the name of the exit so I don't say it wrong? River Prairie exit, and you'll see the big Woodmans. It's just north of the Woodmans, right there.
Behind Quick Trip.
Yeah, Quick Trip. So
freestanding building. So as you can see now on the screen, it actually is our coffee shop. And those are a picture of our beans that we dispense, and we use them in the coffee shop, and you can come in and pick your own flavor or mix and match and go about your day.
Well, and I thought it was nice showing the beans because we talk so much about the people that are starting to get on the kick ordering. Yeah. They actually see, like, there's the whole variety. Like, that's basically the bean menu put out there with the actual beans. So, like, when you're talking about the menu, that's where you're pulling beans from. That's where you're mixing them, making those different blends.
Correct.
And the light, medium, and dark roasts are out there, which switch up relatively somewhat often.
And like that's not even all our beans. That's just the stuff that we have that we put out there. But our bean menu is actually bigger. Bigger.
I ripped my headphones off.
That's a really nice nice fan of what you got going on there.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying the beans. See them? The names are right there. You can see them all across the board.
So yes, it is a real place. I am there frequently. So it's not made up. It's not fabricated. It's for real.
And I will say, so the episode that I'm going to reference is not out yet. It's the NIL one. There's going to be some snippets coming out this week of it. But on that episode, I talk about the bass in your voice, how you sound like you were in a jazz quartet. You didn't sound that way today when you introduced Cabin Coffee. You sounded very good.
Right.
But and folks will see it in the next couple of weeks when we drop it, maybe after college football season's done. You just sounded like you were in a jazz quartet, like about to sing the blues or something, sing jazz.
Like I told you, I completed my 14th series of puberty, so there you go. Now,
there you go. All right, well, we're going to start off with big stuff in the fight world. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. The fight is going to happen. We've been talking about it, I think, for a year and a half, 2 years now, and it's finally coming to fruition.
If I remember correctly, it was postponed because Mike had ulcers or something.
Yes.
That flared up.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Well, we're going to talk about, we'll hit age right now. So Tyson is 58 years old, and Jake Paul, I think, is 27 or 28 right now. So a couple starters. One, obviously it's about money. Jake Paul, so what I read just this morning, Jake Paul is getting minimum $40 million for the fight. I'm sure he's going to get a lot more after the fight with endorsements and products and all that stuff. And word is that Mike's getting $20 million. Great payday for both of them.
Correct.
But yeah, let's dig into it a little.
I mean, as much as I hate, like, again, I almost go back to it's a generational thing. That's how I view it. So, of course, I'm rooting for Mike Tyson.
Absolutely.
We talk about how this generation isn't nearly as, we always talk about our war stories and how different it was and how tough it was for us to grow up. And Mike Tyson was one of those iconic people from our youth that we didn't think could be beaten, and he was just a machine in the ring. And I remember watching some of his fights going, holy cow, he is the terrifying human being.
Yeah. And everybody thought they were going to stop him. Tyson's famous quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yep.
Like just one after another thought they were going to be the one to stop Mike Tyson in his prime. And that's the funny thing, too, about this is, like people, I read an article that if this fight did take place 30 years ago in Mike's prime, they'd have to have a pine box behind Jake Paul's corner because he wouldn't survive the fight. He'd come out. He literally would die in a fight. So let's just be honest for our audience here. Jake Paul is a talented boxer. Jake Paul's smart. He's making a ton of money fighting retired boxers and retired MMA guys. The one actual fighter he fought, I believe it was Tyson Fury's nephew, he lost.
Right.
So I think Jake Paul's 10-1 right now with his actual boxing record. But he is a boxer. He's not a fighter.
Right.
Mike Tyson was a fighter that learned how to box.
Sure.
And in his prime, like I said, there's no question about it. Mike Tyson would have killed him. Literally would have. They probably would not have allowed the fight to happen.
So here's my question for you. So do you think that that this is going to be rigged? Do you think one of them was going to take a fall? Do you think Mike's going to fall?
Well, I definitely don't think Jake Paul is going to take a fall. I definitely think there was a conversation, whether it was officially agreed upon or not. I definitely think there was a conversation about Mike taking a dive. Now, my thing is, one, for $20 million, there's a lot of things I'd do. And I could see Mike considering it for 20 mil.
Right.
You know, he's been ups and downs with money. More recently, he's been on the up. You know, he invested early in a weed farm, and I heard he's absolutely killing it in that. But he lost all his original money from fighting.
Right.
So would he agree upon it early on? I think there's a possibility. Would Mike change his mind after the first punch is thrown? I definitely think that's a possibility as well.
Right. I think that if he has the ability, because let's face it, the last time he fought was in 2020, and he was 54 years old, and he fought Roy Jones Jr. And it didn't look very good. You know, obviously age. You know, we can sit here and talk about, oh yeah, if I still played football, blah 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 blah, like I would be able to do this. Well, let's face it, the heart and the mind might be willing, but the body ain't going to be able to freaking do it. There's no way. Like, I mean, we can sit here and talk tough all day long and like, oh yeah, put me in, coach. I'm 47. I can barely freaking walk. There's no freaking way I'm going to go in there and do a damn thing that's going to be productive.
I say I'll definitely give you one good play. If I give you a second good play, you better have a stretcher ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
because I'm not walking.
But that's it. But I'm also not going to go toe-to-toe with another guy in a boxing match if I'm Mike Tyson. And at 47, I'm not going to be able to withstand what I took 20 years ago. There's just no freaking way.
Yep. I hear you. Now, another thing that broke that I forgot to talk to you about, I just looked at before we started, was Tyrone Woodley, the former MMA guy that retired. I guess it's out there that he signed an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that he could not knock out Jake Paul during the fight.
Oh, no shit.
I'm trying to think who the other one that fought him. Nate Diaz. When Nate Diaz fought him, there looked like a couple times where Jake Paul was arguably almost knocked out on his feet, and Diaz was holding him up.
Really?
Not letting him go to the mat. So, I mean, that helps with the decision at the end that he didn't get knocked out. So, once again, Nate Diaz, did he do it for money? You know, like throw some punches, put on a good show, walk away with a phenomenal a bigger payday than he probably ever got during his time in the MMA.
And that's the thing. I think some people realize, like, oh, this isn't about money. It's about pride. It's about freaking money, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, college football is about money.
Yes.
Professional sports is about money. And I tell you what, if you want me to take a dive because I'm fighting somebody and I'm going to get $20 million, I'll take a dive.
Yeah.
$20 million? Oh, yeah, I'll take a dive. Because at the end of the day, now I'm set up and my family's set up and I'm good to go. So it's about money.
Yeah.
So
I absolutely agree with that. And I definitely am leaning on the side of that the fix is in. I'm just curious, if the fix is in, will Mike allow it the whole fight?
Right.
Or will he change his mind and just go back to old ways? Because like you said about who was the former Roy Jones Jr., the fight, and also we read about the preparation leading up to it where there was a lot of issues. This preparation reminds me of Rocky IV.
Right.
You know,
very much so.
Like you look at what Mike Tyson's doing for this fight, and it's just, I don't know. Like, once again, we're not seeing 30-year-old Mike Tyson.
Right.
But I think we're going to see an animal.
But I tell you what, even those short blips you see on TikTok where he's – I mean, he's –
Well, that's the other thing, and I think it's in this article in front of us. They talk about, like, how the editing, and it's only short clips. I don't want to get hit for 5 seconds. But you know how many punches he could probably throw in 5 seconds? Like that's like this first round – unless they come out like it's an exhibition and they're just kind of measuring and stuff, that first round could be wild.
Agreed.
Because if Mike lets it go, I don't know. And Jake Paul's going to be protected. Like, once again, I can't stress enough. Jake Paul would never be a boxing champion.
Right.
He couldn't do it. He might win a couple fights. He's doing it the smart way for money. He's boxing. He's only boxing retired guys. And it's smart. It's the moneymaker.
And
it's
Jake
the
Paul
draw.
would kick the shit out of both of us. Hands down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In a
He's
boxing match,
very very, very talented. But to box real boxers
correct.
And move up the ranks, he couldn't do that.
Right.
So,
and I agree with you on that one.
Once again, it's interesting. So, yeah, this Friday night, November 15th, it is free on Netflix.
So
I got a funny feeling a lot of people that don't own Netflix are going to own Netflix by Friday night.
And I'm looking forward to it. And honestly, like I said before, it's kind of a generational thing because I want Mike Tyson to win just because.
Oh, absolutely.
That's from my youth.
Yes.
And the guy was just
scary
and intense.
And to us, it's Iron Mike still against the YouTuber or against Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Whatever it is.
Yeah. How can we not root for
But yes, I will be tuning into that one for sure because, again, and I'm still rooting for Mike Tyson. But is it going to come down to money? Is Mike going to take a dive for $20 million? I don't know that. And you've already said in some of the other competitions like Diaz, et cetera, there was a do not knockout clause and all that stuff, and you're holding the guy up. Again, it's about money. And no matter how bad you want to see a true legit boxing match where they're going toe-to-toe and someone gets knocked out, I'm not sure.
Well, and that's another thing I read either in this article or online that people are calling it an actual fight because they say on their professional records it's going down as a win or loss. But then I think there's like 7 states that aren't not allowing gambling on it because they're not considering it a real fight. So like New York State, one of the biggest states for boxing, they're not allowing you to bet on it.
Gotcha.
So we'll see.
Well, tune in next time until we get to talk about it. Hopefully we'll have some nice updates for you, but I am definitely rooting for Mike Tyson on that one.
Exactly. So we are here talking Badgers and Packers today, but we're going to start with college football, talking a little bit about the top 25. We don't have the playoff rankings yet, which I believe are going to come out in the next week or 2 at most. Mm-hmm. But we did want to talk about the top 25 right now. And like we said, we have an episode that's going to drop in the next couple of weeks talking about NIL. And just looking at our top 25 right now, we got a bunch of notes about these collectives like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the top 25 teams are the biggest collectives in college football, raising the most money to be able to pay their team.
Yep. And
the biggest is, Oregon, number 1, who's we're going to talk about coming into Camp Randall this Saturday. They're backed by Nike. Correct. So, I mean, you can't really fight with that. Ohio State's got a $20 million payroll.
Yep.
I read an article that Tennessee has committed $8 million to their quarterback by his junior year. That's insane. That quarterback's not even – that's saying that he's going to come out early. Let's say he stays for his 5th year or 4th year, could probably make another $4 million and walk away from college $12 million richer. It's insane.
And it's insane, too, because if you recall, Oregon, when we were in college, they had that outrageous amount of uniforms even back then.
Yes.
And they had that really high-profile locker room and facilities. And I remember seeing a documentary on that or a snippet of some sort where they went through and did a tour of Oregon, and I was like, holy crap, this is like legit, like NFL. They had a barber's chair, and that's the first time I ever saw a barber's chair. They had all this stuff in there. I'm going, like, when we look around our locker room, we're like, well,
yeah, exactly.
We have leather couches,
and
a couple TVs suspended from the ceiling. I mean, that's what it was.
And we love that. We thought we were,
and we thought we were
king time.
Big time.
A couple other deals on the top 25 list. We have Miami has a $15 payroll for their football team this year.
You say 15 or
15?
15 million.
15 million.
Yep.
Florida State's got 18 million for all their sports teams. Nebraska this year is paying 20 million for football and basketball. And reports say at Arkansas, head football coach John Calipari has an open checkbook annually for football, ranging from $5 to $8 million a year to spend on football. So, like we said, the money is just insane. Now, the other things I want to talk about on the top 25 list, Colorado's ranked 18 as of as of today.
Yep.
I think Colorado's a good team. I don't know how much. I'm sure they're getting NIL money because of Dion there, but they got a lot of talent there. They got a quarterback and a D-back that both could be in the Heisman or in the running for Heisman. And they have Travis Hunter, the DB, who's playing DB and receiver. Basically, he's the guy that everyone's got out there for the Heisman. They're not really talking about Dion's kid, the quarterback. Shador, the quarterback. The other two shockers, Army. I know we're recording this on Veterans Day, but how is Army ranked 16? Okay, I know they're undefeated, but I just
but I don't care. I still root for them all the time.
You absolutely root for them.
I always root for Army.
You absolutely root for them. But let's just say today, college football playoffs was a 16-team playoff,
right? And
they make it in. Are they winning the first game?
No.
Are they winning any game?
No.
So that's where I'm just saying I'm shocked. I absolutely root for them.
But how about BYU at number 7?
That's what I was just going to say. The other shocker, BYU. How the heck? I don't know their record. I'm assuming they're undefeated, and that's why they're number 7 in the country. But how are they number 7?
And aren't they like Big 12?
They're Big 12.
Okay.
So once again, I always talk conferences when I look at top 25 or talk playoffs. They're in the Big 12. Who do they play? The only team, I looked at their schedule today. The only team they play is Colorado. So where is their strength of schedule? It is not there whatsoever.
Right.
They're there because they're undefeated. They're at number 7. If we had a 12-team playoff today, they're losing in the first game. Now, with that being said, it's a this is the top 25 list we're looking at in front of us is the AP, I believe. So there's the AP, there's the college coaches top 25. Those are two separate lists. Usually they line up eye to eye for the most part. But then the playoffs come, that's a playoff committee that picks. I think right away BYU'd be bounced.
Yep.
They're at 7 in the AP. I don't think they'd be in the top 12 if they voted on the playoff today.
Agreed.
Hey, everybody. Bill Ferrario here, co-host of 217 South Mills. We've been getting a lot of requests, especially from my friends and family down in Florida, and technically people all over the country trying to figure out how to order this cabin coffee. And Joe provided us a way to do it. We've mentioned it on the show before, but I want to give you a little firsthand tutorial on what you're going to do. So right now, you are going to look at the link above and follow me. So you're going to go to Google. You're going to type in Cabin Coffee Altoona. Once you do that, just hit enter. You're going to see the website pop up on whatever search engine you have, Google or whatever. You see it right there. It's at the top, Cabin Coffee Altoona. We're going to click on that. You're going to be on the Cabin Coffee Altoona website. Scroll down to the bottom. You're going to see menus. And in the middle, there's going to be a bean menu. What we're going to do is click on the bean menu, and then you get to see all the different blends and coffees that are available. You're going to pick out what you want if you know right away what you would like to order. After that, remember the email, altoona@cabincoffee.net. altoona@cabincoffee.net. You're going to put that in your email for the two. For the subject line, I just put down coffee order so Joe knows when it comes up, it's a coffee order. You see my name there, Bill Ferrario. For the contact info, I did a dummy phone number because people are reaching out to us like crazy. That's our podcast phone number. And then lastly, you're going to put down what type of coffee blend you'd like. And Joe will take care of it for you. He'll reach out to you, and he'll get the order in the mail. Otherwise, put down what you typically drink, what you're interested in. Joe could talk to you via email or even give you a call and talk you through on what to order. Wish you the best. Enjoy that cabin coffee. Make it a great day.
How about Indiana? How about them coming back from the dead? I mean, seriously.
Yes.
Like, their coach, got a little swagger to him. And then I think in his conference, he says, Google me. All I do is win.
Yes.
And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. They should have they need a snippet of that where after that comment, you have that song. All I do is win. They literally.
But that's almost very similar to Coach Alvarez when he said, you better buy tickets now because you won't be able to get them otherwise. I mean, that's along that same stature as that.
Exactly. No, I 100% agree. I didn't look at Indiana's schedule for their strength of schedule, but bottom line, if they go through the Big Ten, now I'm assuming, they obviously didn't play Oregon because Oregon's undefeated. I'm not even sure which division both of them are in. I'm assuming they're not in the same division. So if Indiana won out and Oregon won out, they play each other in the Big Ten championship. And that'll tell you right there where Indiana is at. So, Indiana being undefeated in the Big Ten, I mean, they're still behind Ohio State. They're still behind Penn State.
Correct.
But it's the Big Ten. It's not the Big 12. And anybody today, it's like, I used to even, and this was a stretch, but I even used to argue with Alabama back in the day in the SEC saying, The SEC has 2 teams, 3 teams that are good.
Right.
Then they have 9 teams that are shit.
Right.
So it's like, how do you really brag when you're saying you're the best team in the country, but you're in a average? Like, I really felt when Wisconsin had good teams that if we were in the SEC, you'd go undefeated or 1 loss every single year.
Huh.
Back when we were good.
Yeah.
Because who are your teams that you got to play? You either have to play Alabama or Georgia.
Right.
Other than that, you're playing Little Sisters of the Poor every week. I mean, so that's serious.
And that is a direct quote from our offensive line coach, Jim Huber.
Exactly.
I've seen you pull that one out, and it made me smile a little bit there.
So, all right, moving on to this coming up Saturday. Saturday night, 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time. It's on NBC. The Oregon Ducks, #1 in the country, are coming to Camp Randall.
Yep.
Now, me and you both know, after our time at Wisconsin, there's been Wisconsin teams that have upset, I believe, twice, upset the #1 team in the country inside of Camp Randall. They were also night games that were played when that upset occurred. I think this is going to be a struggle, Joe. I don't know. We Badgers right now, me and you talked about, we're fighting for a bowl game.
Yep.
We don't even have 6 wins yet. And, the last couple of weeks we've been talking, and, we weren't there when we played Alabama. We started off good against USC, ended up losing both those games. We had 2 wins against Northwestern, and I forget the other team and we weren't sure if they were solid wins to actually talk about the program. And now we got the #1 team in the country coming in, and I am scared.
Yeah, Oregon is obviously #1. They have a ton of NIL money, which you'll see that compared to Wisconsin's NIL budget is non-existent. They have a speed, they have the talent. And, again, but I think you hit on a pretty solid note there. Some pretty damn magical things happen at night games in Camp Randall. And when people count us out and all of a sudden we flip the switch and we come alive and we start working and we go to town and upsets are made, let's face it. And I've been a part of a few of the night games, and I've been also in the stands, and it's definitely a magical feeling when you're there.
It is. And to your point, that is the one thing we do have in our favor for this week. One of the few things. And I think the big part in our favor is, I don't think, especially this year's Oregon team with coming to the Big Ten, I don't think they've played in a hostile environment like they're going to see in Camp Randall.
Right.
They played at Michigan, and they beat Michigan. Me and you both know we played there twice. Michigan is a bunch of rich fuckers that do the golf clap.
Yep.
And it does not get loud. Now, Michigan likes to say their stadium's built out and not up, and that's why, bottom line, there's over 100,000 people there. If they were loud, it would be loud. I don't believe we ever went on silent count in Michigan Stadium the 2 times we played there. And we were both top 25 teams when we played.
Yeah, but we also commented on this podcast, too, how the fans have changed over at Wisconsin, and there's a little bit of spoilage going on over there. And now, we used to be kind of a rowdy place. And I don't think it's the 90s anymore when it used to be a hostile environment. So, it has the ability to be a hostile environment, but it depends on, again, performance and how we play.
Absolutely. So what I'm saying in the Badgers' favor, we're definitely going to be hostile for a half a quarter.
Right.
And then depends on how we play.
Right.
If we're down by 14, it'll be quiet.
If we're completely shit in the bed, then it's going to be quiet, and you'll people leaving by halftime.
It'll be quiet, and then we're going to be dancing in the fourth quarter when we play jump around.
Absolutely.
Which is a disgrace. That stuff should never happen. But, so that's – I don't want to get into too much. We don't have too much positive to say. This is not a betting or gambling show, but I will put out there that Oregon, as of today, while we're recording the show, is only – a 10.5-point favorite. And I say only, I really thought they were going to be favored by more than 2 scores.
Right.
And so I know you're probably not going to listen to this until the day after we recorded, and who knows where the spread's going to be at that point. And I'm sure all the betting sites are going to be reaching out to us for offering sponsorship that I said that. But as of today, they're a 10.5-point favorite. If you're a betting person, I don't know. Seems like a interesting bet to lay.
Good.
As a fan, like we said, we hope the night game helps us, and we hope the home field advantage helps us, and we upset the Ducks.
And if we don't, then we only have 2 games to be above 500, and against Nebraska, and then that team to the west that I don't say their name ever. Those aren't slouch games either.
No.
So I think you're dead on when you say we're fighting for a bowl game for sure, because none of the rest of the season there's been no gimmies anyway. Let's face it.
Yeah.
There is no gimmies anymore because, well, we're not playing to the level and the potential that we need to be.
I mean, you both know, God forbid we don't beat Nebraska. It doesn't matter if we're undefeated or winless. When we play that team from the West, they are going to play. That's their bowl game. And I don't know if they're bowl eligible this year or not. But even if they are, all they want to do is upset us. Because back before you paid for players for your team, it was a border battle on recruits. And if they were to beat us, they're going to get some of the better recruits over us and vice versa. So to your point, there's no gimmies in the last 3 games whatsoever. And we need to get at least a win to be bowl eligible.
Correct.
So finishing up, we got the Green Bay Packers hosting the Chicago Bears this Sunday at noon Central Time, and I believe that game is on CBS. Or no, it is not noon. It is. I'm looking here at 4:25, 3:30 game Central Time. It's either 3:30 Central or noon Central. I got mixed reports. But, yeah, this is going to be an interesting game, too. So the Packers have had some injuries. We've played very well, but we've also played poorly.
Yep.
The Bears have had a shitload going on.
A lot.
Just between their locker room, their team, their coaching staff, their players. We got Caleb Williams having meetings with the OC and the head coach, talking about different plays, trying to do different things. The Packers with Jordan Love with the leg injury. He's been up and down.
Yep.
One of the notes I took here with the Bears, their stats, their rushing yards per game are 145. They rank second in the NFL. And then their rush defense only allows 84 yards per game, ranked number 1 in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big stat right there. Like that, this divisional game, Packers versus Bears, oldest rivalry in the NFL, one of the first games that ever take place. When these games come, it's that game you throw your record out the window. Me and you both have experienced games like this, and it just comes down to 2 teams. The fans hate each other. The teams don't like each other, and it's going to be a fiery game. I made a note that this is truly one of those games where we always hear the comment, you win the turnover battle, you win the game. I think that's the key for every fan to watch. Mm-hmm. Whoever wins the turnover battle, I believe, is going to win this game. I think that's going to be the determining. You can look at all the other odds and ends and ups and downs. Whoever has the least amount of turnovers or wins the turnover battle, I think is going to come out victorious in this game.
And I think you're right, though. It's kind of a shit show with the Bears organization. We all saw the last game or the Hail Mary pass where the guy taunting the crowd and then takes a complete ass of himself and shits the bed. And, like I said, and then we had a quarterback that was scrambling and then one of the receivers just walks off the field in the middle of the
walks off, goes and sits on the bench, and then says it. So the thing that keeps coming out this week is he's saying he tweaked his ankle. Okay. But then the next series it was in there going 100%.
Right. So come on.
If you tweaked your ankle, lay down on the ground.
Right.
And we talked about you got so many guys faking injuries.
Yep.
You're telling me you got a real injury because now he's trying to put the spin on the tough guy. I kept playing through injury. You walked off the field in the middle of a play
while your freaking quarterback was running for his bloody life. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Seriously.
I agree.
That's your guy. That's your quarterback. That's your leader.
Absolutely.
He's taking fire, and you're you're on the sideline having a hot pocket. Come on, get your crap together.
I absolutely agree. So the Packers are a 3-point favorite in this game. Honestly, I think it's going to be a coin toss. I think, like we said, I think turnovers are going to determine this game. Yeah, we need to be able to – and here's the thing. We always say as linemen, you need to be able to establish a run to get this game going. We're going against the number 1 rush defense in the country. Then we say, as the Packers, we need to be able to stop the run on defense, to slow their offense down. Well, they're the number 2 rushing offense in the NFL right now. So, I don't know. It's gonna be a battle. Absolute battle out there. And let's see what Chicago Bears team shows up. Let's see if they're going to play every second of every snap, if they're going to go off the field or taunt the fans or argue amongst coaches. Even that, the coaches still haven't gotten on the same page. From back to your comment about the Hail Mary, the offense coordinator will not admit that the play before the Hail Mary where Washington gained 12 yards, he says that play didn't matter. it's the Hail Mary that wins or loses the game. Well, if they didn't get 12 yards,
Right.
the Hail Mary would have landed around the 10-yard line.
Correct.
So the play before the Hail Mary, essentially, now that hindsight 2020, the play before the Hail Mary lost you the game.
Right.
Because the Hail Mary never would have taken place.
Sure.
Or it would have had a 0% success rate.
I mean, it's bad when your leaders and your coaches don't have their shit together. How do you expect the players to?
Yes.
I mean, you look for guidance from your coaches. They've been there before. They have the experience. I never once questioned Coach Alvarez in any of his decisions that he ever made because he's our general, he's our leader, he's pointing the way, we're going, we're doing what we're doing. Now, when you have questions about it and you don't have the faith and confidence in your coaching staff, man, your wheels are falling off. And I'm going to use this opportunity to tell my brother Pat, like, hey, man, this is another year where you just keep on just getting your ass kicked as a fan, as a Bears fan. And it's hard to watch as your brother. Like, just I want to just kind of.
I think Pat's closing the blinds this Sunday.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think he's going to want to park the car out back so nobody sees the cars in the driveway. And it's going to be tough. But not only, and to your point, too, about that whole issue with the players and the coaches and not being on the same page, it's a different, like I was on professional teams where there were disruptions and there were questions, but to go from that to allowing it to get to the public.
Right.
Because now every player that gets interviewed has to address those questions.
Sure.
You're not going to, any smart player is not going to say anything.
Right.
But now you have to deal with it. You have to address it. You have to avoid it. And the public is talking about it nonstop.
Yep.
Where, like we come from the school of you keep your house clean. Like keep that shit in your kitchen. Don't let all the neighbors know your business.
And the problem is, even if you say no comment, then you're just proving that there's an issue.
Exactly.
I mean, so no matter what you say in that interview, no matter what you say, no matter how neutral, it's going to be turned against you.
Yes.
No matter what, because they're not getting the answers that they want from you. They're not getting any insight from you. And if you say no comment, see, this is what's going on here. He's not even commenting on this. So it's such a, like I said, it was so much easier just to play the damn game than it was to have to worry about all the social media now.
Yep.
And we didn't have social media, thank God. But even dealing with the media back then, having to go in front of a camera after you're playing or after you played or practice or whenever they decide to do it, and all you want to do is just get in the shower and go eat because you're starving and go put some ice on because you're just and then let's answer some questions and make sure you have all your faculties when you had your bell rung twice and trying to remember what the hell you say.
Or I remember you're coming up against a good team like Ohio State and Michigan, whoever back in the day, and you're getting drilled on a Monday or Tuesday to talk about their defense or to talk about their special players. And it's like, yeah, they got a really good defense. Yeah, we got to prepare for this. You're just like giving all the bullshit that,
it's all the automatic ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep, they're always a tough team. They always play us tough. We have respect for them. It's going to be a hard-fought game. It's going to be it's going to be who wins the battle of the turnovers. Yep, their defense is really good. And all you do is compliment the other team. And the last thing you want to do is give any freaking billboard material. So it's just as vanilla as it could possibly be, and there's no substance to it, and then all of a sudden they're running with it, and you're like, good Lord.
I agree. Well, that's the Packers. This Sunday we're going to find out who comes out victorious. The last thing we are going to address is somewhat of not the election, but the lead up to the election. So Nick Bosa is the big talk as of recent. He had basically a Trump Republican hat on and butted into a live interview that Brock Purdy, the quarterback of San Francisco, was giving. Came in for like 3 seconds, smiled at the camera, and then left. And because he had that hat on, he ended up getting fined just under $12,000. I think it was $11,800 and change. What I didn't get to look up, but I heard was Steph Curry, I'm assuming it was after a game while he was still in uniform, endorsed Kamala Harris.
Right.
Or no, I like to say Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, he endorsed. Whichever. We still don't know her name 3 months later. But Steph Curry endorsed her. I don't know if he got fined by the letter of the law. Hopefully both of them got fined because that is a rule, and that was something you and I were talking about before the show started. And to explain to people, yes, at least when I was playing, it was 60. So if I'm doing my math right, I think it's 20 minutes after the game ends, reporters are allowed to come in the locker room. So basically, if you want to shower and not be walking around naked while there's men and women, because women are allowed in professional locker rooms, if you want to shower and get back to your locker naked without men and women seeing you naked, you have to get it done within 20 minutes of the clock hitting 0 on the field. So if you stay on the field for 18 minutes and you're talking to college teammates, or you're shaking hands with coaches, this, that, the other, you have 2 minutes to get in the locker room, do this, because as soon as that clock, once the clock hits 0 in the stadium, another digital clock starts in the locker room. And once that clock, it goes from 20 down to 0. Once that hits 0, the doors open in the locker room, and all media is allowed to come in with cameras.
So if you have coaches talk after wins and losses, and is that all included in that
in
20
the time
minutes?
Yep.
So if you have a long-winded coach,
they're pretty much. I mean, yeah, you could argue, are they going to keep them out a little bit longer? But yeah, it's got to be quick.
I mean, there's game balls given out. We're doing recognitions of who had great games and great efforts.
They all got the clock, and they got the coaches got people that are telling them like, "Hey, 2 minutes, 2 minutes of doors," and then boom, those doors open. And
it's so along the lines. And
it's a meat market, basically.
It's a meat market. Yeah. I'm sure they all rush into your locker there, buddy. Hey, let me ask you this then too. Along those same lines of 20 minutes, and obviously he got fined 12 grand for wearing the red hat. What are some? I mean, do you remember any of those stipulations? Because it seemed like it would be a lot, and I feel like I'd have a lot of violations. Because I would.
Well, the hat was a big deal. Because like I used to wear a Yankee growing up out east. I was a Yankees fan. I used to wear a Yankees hat during my time playing professional ball, and there'd be times I'd be changing my locker, ready to leave, throw my hat on, and as I'm getting up from my locker, somebody comes over and wants to do an interview. You got to rip that hat off, because if you get caught with the hat on, you're going to get a fine. The other little fines, and I don't think we talked about this at all on the podcast, was one of the most popular ones was socks. So you see, and I did get confirmation as of, I think it was like 3 years ago, because I thought, they did away with this fine because nobody's abiding by it. And they go, no, just everybody pays it now. They make so much more money. So when I was playing it, where your socks change colors, so the Packers, we have white socks with a green upper half. That separation of color where it goes from white to green has to be right where your calf starts the calf muscle. That's where the color exchange has to take place. So when you watch an NFL game this Sunday, anybody, like say for instance the Packers, anybody that has white the whole way up or green the whole way down, they're getting fined. And I think it's, I don't know, maybe say like $6 or $7 grand a game.
Are you freaking kidding me?
So,
and does that go to the NFL?
Yes.
Hey, Joe, what the heck does it mean when you say Cabin Coffee Altoona is a roastery? Are you making fun of the coffee or something?
Come on now, Bill. Sounds to me like you've had one too many shots to the head. It means we're a roastery. We buy our beans green from all over the world and roast right here on site. It's the freshest coffee you can get.
Is that why one place I used to go to tasted burnt and the other place tastes like brown flavored water?
That's exactly why, Bill. So stop on down to 2922 Meadowlark Lane. Cabin Coffee Altoona. Just remember, folks, everything's better at the cabin.
And now here, I'll take us down the rabbit hole, then I'll tell us a funny story. So the rabbit hole is, and I urge all our listeners. So think about the millions upon millions of dollars the NFL collects from fines.
Yeah.
What the NFL says, so players, at least when I played, used to say, hey, so the NFL says we donate it to charity. And the NFL does have X number of charities that they're associated with. So players used to fight and be like, well, hey, if you're going to fine me this much money, can it go to my charity?
Right.
Or could it go to a charity of my choice?
Right.
And they're like, no, it goes to our charities. So when was the last time you saw an article about a charity that the NFL supports that in the last 30 years, where are all these charities getting these millions upon millions of dollars? Because when I say millions, there's guys, once they started like safety in the NFL, there were guys that got fined 50 grand for hits.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, between just the sock fine alone probably makes over $1 million. So, okay, let's say you have 10 charities. There's 10 charities you're giving 100 grand to each.
Right.
You don't think there'd be a news article that the NFL gave $100,000 to a charity event? And this happens year after year after year. So my argument is, where's all this money really go?
That's what I want.
Because if it's going to charities, you would think that there's some reporter that doesn't have anything to write about and is like, let me do a story on the millions upon millions of dollars that the NFL donates from fines to charities.
Right.
But it's almost like the dots don't keep connecting. The money comes from the players, goes to the NFL, and then you never hear about it.
Right.
With the and I'm not saying they don't donate it,
Right.
but you sure as hell would think if they were donating this much money, they'd talk about it. God, I lost my freaking train of thought. Oh, the socks. So when I was in Carolina, I got signed about a quarter of the way through the 04 season in Carolina. So in 05, I'm on the roster from day one of the offseason. And we get into training camp. During training camp, you have all these different organizations coming to talk to you. Like the FBI would come in and talk to you about gambling and blackmail and this and that. And one of the other organizations would be the NFL officials. They'd come in, they would talk through new rules or changes in the rules, and they would talk about fines. So Julius Peppers was a teammate of mine in Carolina, and just an absolute beast on the field. He was like a step below like the Lawrence Taylor, I would say, of our generation, but like one pedestal below LT. Just a beast. But a good guy off the field, really good guy, really quiet guy. And they first start talking about hits on the quarterback. And this is during the Tom Brady era. So the official's like, you can't hit in the head. You can't hit in the back. You can't hit from the shoulders up. You can't hit in the knees. You can't hit like below the knee. So Julius Peppers goes, so I get past an all-pro 350-pound tackle, and I'm going to hit the quarterback in like 0.7 seconds. I get like that much space, and I'm holding my hands about 2 feet apart. I get that much space I have to hit while he's trying to move and avoid the hit.
Right.
And the official's basically like, yes, Julius, that's what you have to do. He goes, okay, size, and, lets the guy go on with the conversation. And he starts talking fines. And Julius Peppers goes, what's the sock fine? And the guy says the dollar amount, which I don't know off the top of my head. But the next thing that happened, like I look back, you hear some rustling, and you look back, everybody looked back. And Julius Peppers is on a calculator. And he's doing something. We're like, what the heck is Pep doing back there? Pulls out his checkbook and starts writing a check. Walks up to the official. And in our team meeting in Carolina, tries handing the official a check for $88,000 and goes, I'm going to wear my socks the way I want to. And the official's like, I can't take that check. Like he put on their NFL and then wrote $88,000. He did the math and he was like, I'm going to wear the socks the way I want to this season. That's the way players are. So what I've heard, before every game, there's a checker that works for the home team that does both sides. So in most recent years with Green Bay, it's been former players Johnny Gray and Billy Schrader. So one guy will have the home team, one guy will have the away team. And what happens during pregame, they make a list of everybody that is not to code. Okay. Another deal when I was playing was jerseys. So a lot of my jerseys, where in college we had long jerseys, my NFL jerseys, we call them diapers. They all have these flaps that come from the back up to the front and they Velcro between your legs. And the reason we would wear them is so you can't get your jersey untucked. If our jerseys got untucked during a game, you get a warning the first time. They write your number down that they gave you a warning. If it comes untucked again, it's a $5,000 fine. And every time it would come untucked, it'd be $5,000. So we were just like, screw it. We're going to tuck it in. Now, granted, there was the wedgie incident, that somebody pulls on you. Yeah. It's going to hurt down below, but $5,000 hurt a lot more than that.
I'm not worried about the wedgies. I'm worried about like chub rub and like third-degree chafe from Velcro rubbing down there.
Well, you got your ruds on.
I'm still like,
no, you're not.
Is it over your ruds?
Yeah. Jersey's over. Yeah, you're not putting the freaking jersey on.
I'm just trying to freaking figure it out. I'm just like, inquiring minds want to know. No, I didn't have the adult onesie when we played. We just had the long freaking shirts.
No, I was wearing a jock, then ruds. Then the jersey on top. Then the jersey would flap over top of that.
Just wanted to make sure.
But yeah, if somebody pulled on it, especially pulling in the front, like when I'm trying to say wedgie politely, was more than a wedge. It was pain in front, but $5,000 was a lot more painful.
Do you think D linemen do that? And after a while,
oh, absolutely, pulling.
They just riffing on it, like watch
because we got double-sided tape on our shoulder pads. So
we had that in college.
Yeah, so they're not touching you up top. They can't grab anything up top. Right. If they could grab you at the side, if they're pulling or if you're trying to get up to linebacker level and they're pulling, they know. Because at the time, they're wearing the same stuff too. because if their jerseys are
I
untucked,
suppose.
if their jerseys come untucked, now that's one rule that's changed. So in the NFL, you see guys with T-shirts hanging out. That wasn't allowed.
Okay.
That wasn't allowed when we were playing college
Right.
or pros.
I knew that.
But the sock rule is still in effect. So what I've heard as of recently with the socks is sometimes like on offense, quarterbacks will pay for the whole offense to wear their socks the way the quarterback wants.
Oh, jeepers.
So like say, and I don't know this for a fact, but say, and I'm just assuming this because there were times when Rodgers was playing where everybody on offense had all green. Like the wide receivers, the running backs, and the O-line. And you know, O-linemen aren't ones to, one, give up money, two, do something for looks because we're already O-linemen. But that's where I feel like quarterbacks are like, no, we're going out all green today on our legs and just pay the fine. You know,
if somebody
making $40 million a year,
Yeah.
I mean, what's the big deal paying $100,000 for a game?
Yeah, it's probably chump change. But for
Exactly.
me, I'm like, I'm not getting fined $5,000 for a bloody pair of socks.
So another fine, and I can't remember if we talked about this, was the fines for weight. So you get told to wait, and for linemen, you could go under it to an extent, but if you're a pound over it, you get fined. And weigh-in day was always Fridays. Ironically enough, O-linemen, for being smart guys, weren't that smart. We'd always do an O-line dinner on Thursday night.
Yeah, not good.
So then Friday morning, you have weigh-ins, and you got fined and this is all based on the collective bargaining agreement. So this is league-wide. This is not the Green Bay Packers, the Carolina Panthers, or the Redskins. This was league-wide. And I did play for the Redskins, not...
It's the Commanders.
No, it is, but I played for the Redskins. It was $300 per pound. Now, here's the kicker. Per day.
Oh, shit.
So if you're 2 pounds overweight, you get fined $600. And you have to weigh in the next day. If you're still 2 pounds overweight, it's another $600. If you're 2 pounds overweight for 3 days, it's another $600. We had, when I was in Carolina, Chris Jenkins. He was a nose guard, a little bit of a 3 technique, more of a nose guard. A fucking beast. While he was healthy, he was playing at like, I'd say 330, 340. And he would do, which was illegal at the time, like the Reggie White club and just club you in the head. I mean, there was one time I was playing center and I was expecting it, and it happened sooner than I thought. Took my helmet right off my head.
Oh, shit.
You know, like he'd give you a concussion from clubbing you with a forearm when you weren't expecting it. But he played at 340, I'd say 340, maybe 350. He gets put on IR. This dude gets up to, I think, 385.
Oh.
Carolina comes up to him. They're like, hey, we need to have a conversation. It's in your contract. You have to abide by the weight, even if you're injured.
Right. Oh, but even when you're injured.
This dude ended up paying, I want to say, just under $100,000 in fines for weight. Now, granted, he was making a couple million.
Yeah, but still,
I want to say
just bleed you.
I want to say it was like $90,000 in fines.
They just freaking bleed you any way possibly they can. I mean, talk about business. And then where's that money go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's going to all our charities.
And here's the other crazy thing. So like back to the weight. There were Fridays I came in and I was overweight. There were Fridays, and I never paid a fine my whole NFL career. There were Fridays I came in and I knew I was going to be overweight. I'd come in early on a scale just to see where I was. And it's usually the strength coach or the assistant strength coach. And I'd look at him and be like, what number are you going to write down? And there were times he's like, I got to write down the number on the scale. I'm like, all right, I'll be back in about 30 minutes. Go and, do our tricks that we know in the sauna or steam room. And he's like, that's unhealthy. And I'm like, well, either write down the number that I want you to write down or I got to do what I got to do because I'm not paying a fine. So you do it and you're chugging Gatorades all morning during meetings that you're basically getting your electrolytes back in you. But, crazy, absolutely crazy with fines. There's one more thing I was thinking. I don't know. We're going too long here. I'm losing my friggin' mind. I don't know. But
what's do you recall the most amount of weight you had to lose?
Me, I think I had to lose 11 pounds one morning.
Holy shit. Honestly,
I had fun.
It sounds like a lot of people out there, but
I had fun at dinner. Yeah, it was.
We've done.
We won't get into it. And I'm sure the dads that listen that used to wrestle or whatever, they know the techniques. And there's, especially when you're starting off as big as we are at the time, it's not that hard. And it's not like we're doing a freaking diet where you're going to stay 10 pounds down. You're losing it for 30 minutes.
Yep.
And then you're putting it back on before you go back out to practice. But back to the fines. Here's the thing I was thinking. We're playing. So fine. here's the kicker. So in the NFL, you only get paid, at the time I was playing, it was 16 regular season games. Now it's 17. You only get paid for regular season games and then playoffs if you make the playoffs. With preseason, you get paid preseason money. So it's like $1,100 a week.
Okay.
Where, if you're, say, like a starting O-lineman for the Packers right now, I'm just picking anybody and assuming they're making good money. They're probably making, I'd say, like 75 to 100 grand a week or every other week as their take-home check after taxes.
Okay.
But they only make it for 17 weeks of the season. A preseason game, you're making like 1,100 because it's preseason. But if you get fined, you still pay the full fine.
Oh, no shit.
So if you hit somebody and it's a $25,000 fine, you get paid $1,100 and then you got to pay 25 grand. So we're playing, I say luxury. It wasn't a luxury. I got to play in the Hall of Fame game twice. I think it was once with the Packers, or maybe twice with the Packers. I don't know, but I played in it twice. And it makes preseason an extra week longer. So preseason in the NFL, 6 weeks. I had 2 7-week preseasons, which it's just long. So we're playing in the game. I got Doug Peterson, who's coaching in the NFL right now. He's in at quarterback, and he throws an interception. And as soon as he throws it, I think I was playing left guard. He throws the interception in the right side of the field. The second he throws it, I know I'm big. I know I'm slow. I'm like, I'm not running that way. And I look to my right for my angle, and all I see is Doug Peterson. And I'm like, Doug ain't making this tackle. So I'm like, boom, this guy's all the way down there. I'm like, boom, I'm going that way. So I start running. Luckily, I have the perfect freaking angle. I'm running. Well, I'm so content because it's me, Doug, in the end zone.
Right.
And I'm like, if I don't do this, Doug's not making the tackle. The guy's getting a pick six. I have to make this tackle. So I'm running. All of a sudden, I don't realize, because I'm focused on, I have to do this. This is my task. This guy runs out of bounds.
Oh.
He's like 3 steps out of bounds.
Oh.
And I freaking put my head right in his knee, like I'm pulling out as a guard on a bootleg, trying to take a defender down.
Yeah.
I put my head on his knee, flip his ass up in the air, and I end up falling on my back after I hit him. As I'm on my back, it looks like it's snowing yellow. I see about 6 yellow flags coming down all around me. And in that moment, there's so many, I forget what team we were playing, but all I see is their team. And I'm like, shit, I'm on the sidelines, right? Like, I'm beyond the white out of bounds area. I'm like in between out of bounds and the bench.
Gotcha.
That's how far I fell. And as I'm on my back, the flags haven't even hit the ground yet. And I start thinking, I bet you I'm going to get fined for this. I show up. So fines would come on Tuesday morning. So usually you'd be in meetings. And back then, everything was mail. So you'd get your checks in an envelope on your locker. You'd get fines, and fines came in a FedEx. So if you'd walk back in the locker room, you'd look around the locker, you'd be like, FedEx envelope. You know they're fines. I come out of meetings, and there's a FedEx envelope in my locker.
Shit.
One of my teammates had an extra FedEx envelope and placed it on my locker. I almost had a heart attack. Because I'm thinking, based on what I did, it's a Hall of Fame game. It's the only national football game televised that day, that weekend. It's the only game. I'm like, they got to hit me with 25.
We should see if we can find that clip. That'd be hilarious.
I don't know.
That'd be old school.
I feel sick right now even thinking about it. But yeah, so I did not get fined. So luckily, I made it through my career with no fines.
Well, I got one more thing to talk about.
Alrighty.
How about your son and the DC Everest Evergreens pulling on another win this past Friday? And they're advancing on to the state, or they have one more game and then state. So
I'll tell you what, I love that number 7 seed.
Yep.
I'd take them all day long. So yeah, just kicked Wanakee's ass. I think there were fans, parents that like somewhat know me from Wanakee, like reaching out, telling me how tough a game it's going to be on social media, and I'm just like, I think it's going to be tough for you too. Like I'm not I'm not claiming I mean, we're humble here and we're enjoying every game, and the kids are probably a lot more humble than the parents are, but the parents are humble and we're just enjoying the moment, enjoying the ride. But I was pretty surprised. Like everyone, it's a tough game. And I had one dad like go down the list of like everything Wanakee does good and we're going to have to prepare for it. I'm like, well, you should probably prepare for us too. You know, like, we got a damn good quarterback. We got a hell of a running back. We got a good O-line, and our defense is playing lights out. And special teams, like we got one of the best kickers in the state, arguably. And so we got a good team. So yeah, every game has been wild. It's been enjoyable. Chris is playing his butt off, so it's been fun as a parent, fun just part of this family of DC Everest and DC Everest football. And yeah, we're excited. So hopefully we get the dub this weekend, and next week we're talking about traveling to Madison for the state championship.
Yep, I get to be like the uncle and get to cheer from afar. And then what's so crazy and what a crazy small world it is your starting quarterback was my center. Yes. When I was a senior and he was a junior.
Yeah,
his dad was, and now his kid's a quarterback. So you kind of went full circle from Scranton to being integrated into the full DC Everest Wisconsinite because, it's crazy. But as a fan, obviously my alma mater, I'm cheering for him, and your kid's kicking ass. It just as I can't stress it enough. He's 14 freaking years old. He's a freshman, and the guy's playing like a veteran senior right now, and he's just tearing it up. So
it's been exciting. He's got a great group of kids around him. Like I said, it starts with Logan George, Chris's son, the guy that you played with, his son, Logan. He's a great leader on the offensive side of the ball. We got a great coaching staff, great head coach, great line coach, and just can't say enough good things about it. There's nothing, obviously when you win, there's very little to complain about, but it's just good coaches, good kids, good families. It's an honor to be a part of this group.
Yeah, and it's probably pretty cool for his old man too to kind of relive those glory years and to watch your son do as well as he's doing.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just
a lot of fun.
It's got to be a cool experience. I know from an uncle's perspective, it's pretty damn cool.
It sure is. It sure is. All right. Well, stay tuned next week for the next episode, and stay tuned for some snippets of the NIL episode that'll probably be dropping probably after the championship week with college football. We'll probably release that episode. So stay tuned.
All right. And one more time want to thank our sponsor, Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
And Pizza Del Rey at 911 North Hastings Way. And remember, if you want to order coffee, we probably already had it as a commercial during this episode, but go to Cabin Coffee website, which I'm drawing a blank, but it was in the commercial. So you listen to the commercial, but send the email. Joel will get back to you, ship it to you. He's been doing it weekly all over the country so far. So, grab your coffee. You got the display back here. Grab it. Enjoy it.
It's a real place.
I ripped the headphones right out of my head. I can't hear anything right now. So.
It's a real place.
It is a real place.
It's a real place. It's not something we fabricated. It's, me and my wife own it. So stop on by and say hi, guys.
Sounds good. See you next week.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to Joe and I today. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you like what you heard, please give 217 South Mills a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go tell your friends about us. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'd like to thank Cabin Coffee Altoona for sponsoring us. Everything is always better at the cabin. See you next time. And remember, folks, Red has to run.